All right, so moving on to my favorite story of the week, Clearview AI. Do you remember what they do?
Oh gosh, yeah. They sell data that they profile on people's faces based off stuff they scrape on the internet, so from your social media or other places, and they use that to, and they also sell this data to people that are trying to pull up like criminal charges against you or stuff like that. As far as
So
I know.
technically what they do is they allow for recognition of blurry or otherwise unclear images. So if you have like a surveillance image or something like that where it's not good enough for a traditional identification, what Clearview AI purports to do is gather information on every person in the world and compare multiple different angles and all these other things to let them calculate a value that lets them identify that person in unclear imagery. Is basically what they do. Now, of course, that's being used for all sorts of nefarious things, such as bringing charges against people based on identification that may or may not actually work, and definitely doesn't have the consent of people that are being forcibly enrolled in this facial identification program. And that obviously has a lot of people upset because it's very hard to change your face. And as a biometric identifier, a lot of people don't like the fact that some company is making tons of money off of selling identification information that they maybe posted on MySpace or LiveJournal years ago. So the fact that this company has gone back and profiled people so extensively has caused real issues, because while they purport to be able to do these identifications, there's not very many ramifications for them when they get it wrong. And that has made it an issue for people that are the victims of misidentification from tools like this, trying to seek recourse and then finding out that there's not a lot they can do. So this technology is not ready to be used in law enforcement because there doesn't really exist the ability to be accountable for it, since it's a private company and the people who were enrolled in this did not consent. And finally, they ran across some issues with a law in Illinois which prevented them from legally selling their products, and yet they continued to do so. So the ACLU actually brought a case against them, and they are now permanently banned nationwide from making their FacePrint database available to most businesses and other private actors. Now, this isn't a complete ban because they can still work with governments, but they are being restricted in the ways that they are allowed to market this. For example, in the past, they were allowed to approach individual police officers without telling their department and offer them free trials of this service, which they could then try to use to make a case over. And that presents a problem because the other officers working with them and above them have no idea that they have access to this potentially inaccurate tool that's guiding their investigation. And it also is a very sneaky way of doing marketing when it actually could affect, the identification of suspects that maybe misidentifies people or has other ramifications. So the fact that they have been banned from this now also means that they are legally required to provide an opt-out mechanism, something which has never been available to people before that have been swept up in this kind of universal surveillance. So keep Clearview AI in mind when we go through some of the other stories today, because if you add the ability to instantly recognize people from even partial visible faces, or other sorts of things you wouldn't be able to recognize people from without this sort of technology, you get a pretty scary scenario where things like autonomous cars are able to identify people and then subsequently be used by police as evidence. So yeah, I'm personally very happy that they're no longer able to sell these to things like, grocery stores, department stores and stuff that could be using the information to track your movements. And I'm also happy that at least in the state of Illinois, they're not allowed to work with any of the state or local agencies for a period of 1 year. If you live in Chicago or anywhere else in Illinois, then you're also eligible to be unenrolled from their horrible service. So if you want to do that, then you can go to this opt-out request form. And they have also been banned from processing the information submitted to this in any way, shape, or form. So if you're submitting your face to be removed from your database, they can't use it to actually put it right back in.
That's what I
So
was wondering. I was like, how do they confirm that it's you? And then also, what are they going to do with that photo that you upload?
yeah, so if left to their
That's
own devices, they would probably have made this process a nightmare. But because it is compelled by them losing a court case, it is actually fairly straightforward to do so and does not require that much information to remove yourself from the database. So if you live in the state of Illinois, or sometimes in the state of Illinois, or if you've ever been to the state of Illinois, maybe it's time to remove your face from Clearview AI. I highly encourage you to go back and read some of the details about this case as well, because some of the stuff they were doing was very sneaky and not very ethical. So yes, this is a major case. I'm personally very, very happy that they lost this case, and grateful that the ACLU was fighting on behalf of people that have been enrolled in this facial recognition program that's been sold to all sorts of people all over the world without much oversight. So awesome.